I'm going to give it a few more minutes to see if anyone else is going to wander in. I don't know if we have everyone.
This is of Bridges and Friends. When you come to the lights, turn left. Cross the bridge. It doesn't have a name. Go straight for maybe a half mile and turn right at the blue letterbox with a gold star. It was a simple truss bridge spanning a slow-moving river in a small New England town. The driver of a pickup truck waved, and I waved back. We must have known each other in a former life. Driving along the narrow road, I thought of bridges I had known. A few of them grand, most of them not. I remembered best the Tappan Zee in a golden rain, and a literary one, Thornton Wilder's The Bridge of San Luis Rey, that lured its victims from the day of birth. I turned right at the blue box with a gold star and followed a dirt road to the house of friends. Just as the roof of the barn came into view, the road dipped and the car bounced on loose planks over a brook. After dinner, still warm with wine, we walked to No Name Bridge and launched paper boats on the stream. We waved to them as if they were sailing away with people we knew. That brought back to mind the first time I went over the Tappan Zee Bridge and thinking, it's going up and up and up and up and up. And there was another one in here that I'm going to do this one. This is Road Song. Having done, my sister and I did a dream trip this summer. Not that this isn't about me, this is about Bob. But I did do a dream trip, and we drove to Seattle and back. And if you haven't ever done it, it's far. And I've done it several times, and it's far, really, really far. Road Song. Driving across the U.S. from Massachusetts to California in early January, I recognized landscapes on I-40 in New Mexico and Arizona that perfectly matched the interior of my mind. Long, empty stretches of winter brown. Hawks circling overhead in search of prey, and dust flurries in the distance, accompanied by the rock and roll beat of tires on the pavement. Later, in Flagstaff, I ran into snow and ice. At 5,000 feet, I had to concentrate. Then, descending to Kingman through ravines of fatigue, I saw for the first time the sky at sunset streaked with red and purple, burnt orange, and garish yellow. He's a good read.
I do have a copy. I do have it on my iPhone.
Oh, wonderful.
So
Could I borrow your phone?
I can't pull it up on mine because I'm happy.
What would we do with our Google?
We'll continue also with the tradition of reading The Town and the River. But thank you, Deb. This is Deb Kent from the Friends.
Thank you,
She's very resourceful and described the book off the shelf and said all of Bob's poems are good. We'll just read 2 others. It's okay. This is The Town and the River. A hardscrabble New England mill town with decaying factory buildings. That is one way to describe it, not original, but the newspaper reporter was in a hurry, passing through, and wanted a quick impression to hook the reader's attention and to show solidarity with the working poor. Who knows? The frisson of recognition might happen. Satisfied that he had caught the spirit of the place, if nothing else, he moved on to a more important story. What he did not see was the river, the way it sweeps into town with its burden of sky, clouds, sun, moon, stars, birch trees, factory buildings, fire station, and neon Michelin sign, disappears under the bridge, emerges again, gathered and concentrated as it approaches the dam, where years later the observer can hear the thunder of roiled water. The river, its power undiminished, flows through dreams, daydreams, and memories until it finds its way to the ultimate sea. For as long as I can remember, I had stopped to look at birch trees, growing along the river above and below the dam. When I was young and romantic, I thought of these trees as adolescent girls, pursued by an insatiable god who, in the moment of ravishment, changed them into ecstatic but rooted forms, and who, deathless and ageless, ardently moves among them on summer afternoons. Now that I am old and romantic, I summon from the past the memory of my youthful extravagance and exult in the excessive glory of white birch trees along the river. Some say the Scotch-Irish settled this town, but I say whoever came here looked back to the ancient Greeks and planted Doric columns in front of the big houses on West River Street, under the portico of the great mansion, in the recessed entrance to the library, and on porches of lesser houses on almost every side street to defy the encroaching formlessness, to resist the temptation to sprawl, to give in, and to forget. In a magnanimous gesture, a doctor imported marble from Italy and mounted Ionic columns and tablature and pediment over the entrance to his white two-story frame house, in honor of Asclepius, son of Apollo, god of healing. Everywhere there is evidence the town remembers her soldiers. In Central Cemetery, a column rises to those who fell at Antietam, Chancellorsville, Fredericksburg, and Gettysburg. On the common, close to the river, the bronze figures of a soldier and schoolboy commemorate the war to end all wars. The motto on the base of the monument reads, "It shall not be again." Streets and crossroads bear the names of the 11 young men who did not return. On the honor roll in front of the library, the names of men and women appear alphabetically under World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Buildings in the center of town look towards the river, as if in expectation of some arrival, as if Cleopatra's barge might heave into view, purple sails unfurled to the sound of flutes and drums, or as if out of the Orient a new light might come to restore to its original state all that has been lost, worn out, and violated. Standing on the bridge at dawn and facing east, as the wind shifts and glides over the dark water, I have often imagined it is June 1914, that the world has not taken the road to the slaughterhouse of the Somme and Verdun, and that fire and sword, to use outmoded symbols, have not consumed and wasted the blood and treasure of nations. These are the tears and things. The barge, we know, will not come, and the past cannot be undone. The slow work of decay goes on. Dry rot gnaws the sills, paint peels, and broken windows, vandals' havoc, get boarded up. What is seen, sees. The river looks up at us, takes in who we are, what we do, and, in flowing on, remains what it has always been. Barrier, frontier, passage, provider of power, dreamer's mirror. To cross the bridge 2, 4, or 6 times a day is to reenact the great migrations. For rivers stand between today and tomorrow. Who we are and what we will become. That we are ignorant of what we do changes nothing. We, who are never the same, cannot cross the same bridge twice. Everything flows over and under. The bridge and the river ceaselessly whisper its secret name. Walt Whitman, how often have I wished that you could walk with me, that we would stroll together on South Main Street toward the river, that it would be July or August, that men in work clothes and women in summer dresses would wave to us, that we would come to the bridge at sunset and stand, looking west beyond the dam, where water tumbles over rocks, turns white, and shimmers, that the brick factory buildings would flaunt their fantastic shades of red, that you would sing to me in the voice of friend and guide, "Flow on, river, flow with the flood tide and ebb with the ebb tide. Frolic on, crested and scallop-edged waves, gorgeous clouds of the sunset, drench with your splendor me, or the men and women generations after me, and that you and I, Walt Whitman, would stand alone on the bridge and wait for night to come. The Foursquare Savings Bank faces south and waits for the sun, an architect's blind tribute to Picasso, Braque, and Mondrian. I have seen the midday sun transform this cube into a burst of gold, so intense that I've had to shield my eyes from its reflected fire. Interesting credit. What are these compared to a moment in the sun? Do not be concerned about encouraging the useful, Goethe said. The useful encourages itself. Encourage beauty, even if it does not endure. I wish I had the skill of an old Flemish master to paint the young woman who, on a sultry summer afternoon, leaned against the public drinking fountain while she waited for the water to run cold. 20 centuries of Western art concentrated in her stance and vanished when she walked away. Sometimes at night I wake to the throbbing of a freight train as it works up the long grade and sounds its whistle at Wendell Depot. The tracks parallel the river, the white water, and wide reaches where the windless surface is broken only by a snag or the prow of the sandbar. And sometimes in that state between waking and sleep, long after the train has passed through town and the tunnel is filled with the darkest part of night, I become the river, and what I know in the depths are words, images and metaphors born on the surface, things that are and that are not, the moon and Cleopatra's barge, the birch trees and the shape-changing God, time and nothing. It is then that I return to the river what the river has given to me. The next morning I drive to work across the bridge, over the river, past red brick factory buildings and the Peace Monument, and through the center of town. So welcome everyone to the 6th annual Robert Collen Poetry Competition. Our theme this year is Legacy. We had so many wonderful poems, but our judges winnowed it down to their 10 finalists. And without further ado, I will invite our first finalist to come up and read his poem, Early March Pantoum by Michael Young. Is he here?
Is Michael Young here?
Yeah.
Ah.
No, you might not have been able to make it. Well, then I will read his poem. Are you sick of my voice yet? This is Early March Pantoum by Michael Young. Inside and out, much needed to be done. It was early March, a time of change. When the field dried out, we'd plow. Inside and out, much needed to be done. Farming was new to us and still exciting. When the field dried out, we'd plow. Grandpa had showed me how, riding on his tractor. Farming was new to us and still exciting. We'll see how that lasts when our muscles ache. Grandpa had showed me how to plow, riding on his tractor. The house and farm, much needed to be done. We'll see how that lasts when our muscles ache. Dust swirled and danced in the March wind. Next poem is Bequest by Amy Gordon. Who is here? Bequest.
May I leave you woodpecker holes and tree trunks, a century's worth of pine cone scales, creating the springy duff underfoot, the high-pitched scree of young eagles, shimmer of aspen leaves, mist in the morning, heron surprise. May I leave you the singular pewter blue of the river in August, and August's pink phlox and the orange, black kings and queens of the milkweed, followed by rusting ferns and the certainty that after the snow, white stars will appear in the bracken. All this, I pray, goes to you, not just plastic in the ditch, not just graveyards for cars.
Next poem is After Since Unfinished by Richard Blanco, by Stephanie Schaffer.
I've been writing this since that late October morning when, snuggled in my red corduroy jacket, I knelt by my daddy's side as we planted yellow daffodils in the dooryard garden. Comparing the bulb to a princess, he pointed to its crown and gently cautioned, "Remember, tuck her into the earth just enough, but don't bury her crown or she will cry." I've been writing this since that Friday night my brother and I stayed up late to watch our first program on our family's new Zenith console TV. Side by side in the red rocking chair, we rested our slippered feet on the velvet seat cushion, the belts of our flannel bathrobes pulled tightly around our waists. I've been writing this since that brisk October morning when, walking to school together with my best friend Sandy, we feared that the world would end in a blast of fire if Khrushchev launched his missiles from 90 miles away. I've been writing this since I watched in shock as the blue and white Delft lamp smashed to shards on the slate hearth. The table on which it stood had wobbled in my grip. Hours later, my parents found me cowering under their paisley sheets, wishing myself invisible. I've been writing this since my fingers first tapped along the row of keys on the yellow typewriter, a gift from my father that morning for my 7th birthday. I watched in wonder as one by one my words appeared on the blank white sheet. "You'll be a writer someday," he declared with confidence, "and this will get you started." I've been writing this since the car ride home from the country kennel. Open to the air in the back seat of my father's Impala convertible, I stroked the silky fur of our new puppy, who cuddled in my lap as my hair fanned across my face. I've been writing this since arriving home from Hebrew school a year later. Why was the house so quiet? Then my mother knocked on my bedroom door. "Sad news," she announced as she patted my hand. Earlier that afternoon, a car cruising downhill at top speed crushed our dog beneath its wheels. I've been writing this since, while leaning against the windowsill that Friday night, I waited for 2 beams of light, my daddy's headlights, to emerge from the darkness. But instead of bringing him home, his white Valiant sedan complied with his demand and pumped carbon monoxide until his hands loosened their grip on the steering wheel and his slumped body finally surrendered. I've been writing this since I clawed my way back from the abyss that threatened to trounce me at every turn. Day by day, steadfast as a soldier, I skirmished with ghosts of shame and sorrow. Returned to the light, today I reclaim the promise of daffodils in full flower as their yellow faces reach to the sky.
Next poem is going to be February by Kathy Kramer Howe. Kathy, are you still here? Oops. In just a second, my phone lost its connection to the speaker. There we go. Oh, no. Okay. Are you still here?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that volume okay?
Yeah, I'm actually turning it down a little because it came through really strong. All right.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
Kathy Kramer Howe with February from North Carolina.
Wow. Thank you. February. Atop this high plateau in southeastern Arizona, winter's bleak palette is still unchallenged. Between mountain ranges lie 100-mile basin and emptiness. A day is shaped like a dome, endlessly revolving. Spent grasses lie tangled like a refugee's unkempt hair. blackened piles of old snow pockmark the hills. In a few weeks, grass will push up green through the dead matting. Roots, sun, and rain will repeat their ancient alchemy. Our bodies of bone and flesh tire of such eternal rounds. Yet there is a comforting kinship with the encrypted silences of earth, the seamless ascent and descent of light.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you.
Next we have The Morning You Died by Susan Middleton.
You skipped
What
one.
about
You skipped
Oh,
What Remains.
I'm sorry. Next we have What Remains, Sarah Weeks, 1856 by Barbara Thurston. I stapled my pages back in the wrong direction.
I just wanted to say this is part of a book that I've written about the farmhouse that I live in, and it was built in 1770, and this is the second generation of the people, the Weeks family. What Remains, Sarah Weeks, 1856. I have labored long for all these years on this forlorn farm. Birthed and buried our babies once within the same week. Caleb was a husband as good as he could manage. Summers he chopped wood and plowed furrows deeper into his brow. I kept my part of our bargain, but in the end have little to show. And now Caleb lies in the same ground that grew mostly stones. Intestate, in the end he had no will. Now I pray and plead with the Lord in the courts. Petition a probate judge to allow me to keep what was mine. My bed, a bureau, my Bible, and my rocking chair, one table, a chest, and a single light stand. The rest all gone, sold off to pay the debt that grew each season when the crops died or the cow dried up. Caleb had his bottle, and I my psalms and prayers. Alone, rocking, I remember my Caleb pulling me close, his ragged breath, his rough palms, burrowing under the warm quilt of night.
Thank you. Now, The Morning You Died by Susan Middleton.
This begins with an epigraph. So, title is The Morning You Died. The epigraph is Generation, strange word, both making and passing, by Jane Hirschfield. After the last bedside song fades, your lips, moistened by cherry-scented sponges, suns folding your hands in theirs while murmuring prayers, holding on while trying to let go. After you give up oxygen for the etheric breathing in that other realm, passing through rings of higher order sound and light, welcomed by energies known to me only through works of philosophy, then I, who was not even at your bedside and can only imagine what you experienced, wake up. Every slant of light and radiance of flower, every whisper of leaf and bird wing charges my senses with brilliance, setting the air vibrating with creation, as if your wake has rippled through me, making the world strange again and new, and I just born, raising tubby fist to mouth, compelled to suck the world in, that I might fully disappear into it. Once, you and I were old. I just turned 70, you a generation older at 95. But digits for age dance only on paper, in reports, and in obituaries. Is this what happens? Every passing releases a new making in someone still walking the earth? Why did I not notice this before, when my parents died, or my beloved godmother? As if in answer, the world grows ordinary again, as I bury myself in work, but not quite the same as before. A gleam of memory persists.
Making sure I have the pages in the right order. Next we have Contingencies by Lynn Pledger.
Contingencies. According to the ophthalmologist, your eyes will be as bad as mine. Myopia should name a fragrant flower. We cannot see beyond our noses. But our shared trait cannot be traced to genes I passed to you. If you'd been born to me, we might wear the same size shoes. We might share clothes. You might resemble Aunt Louise. If you'd been born to me, you might not be so quick or have your flair for dance. You wouldn't be the color of cafe au lait. You'd be spared the racial slurs. No one would say, "Who's your mom for real?" You wouldn't have to reconcile two lives, one that is and one that might have been. Your loyalty torn in two, an open wound. You say the rest of us, your parents and your brother, will never understand. Then tell me how to fathom the contingencies of fate. If I had given birth to you, I never would have flown to meet my newborn child, where orange tiled roofs, baked red roads, and mats of jungle vine replaced my old horizon. Tell me how to fathom the contingencies of fate. Your brother can see perfectly a bluebird on a post 100 yards away, and he was born to me. It's my adopted child who has my eyes.
Thank you. Next we have Incarnation by Dennis Piana.
Good evening. Thanks for hosting this event, friends of the library, and Todd, wherever he is. The funny thing was, I knew I sent some poems off, and I couldn't find them on my computer. And then I realized that I had sent them by snail mail. So I had a couple, what I thought were the entries on my desktop computer. So I shared them with my wife before leaving home tonight. And there were two versions of this poem. So I asked her which one she liked. So I'm going to read the one she liked. There's only 2 words difference. And I have a copy. So you may follow along in this version and see how big the changes are. Incarnation. Sitting in the driver's seat of my father's antique Dodge, one shoe tied, the other not, heels gouging the seat. I honk the horn, ratchet the wheel, pop a gear, feel the road move under me, see above the dash. Treetops, house peaks, poles, wires streaking past. Fast, faster downhill I roll, out of control, 5 years old, first crash, last. Reincarnated? I'm a car now, in cold storage, gas charged, ready to orbit the interstate. Big changes.
Definitely still listening. Thank you. Next we have Into the Magic with Kathy Kramer Howe.
Okay, still good on the sound?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
There's the clock.
Into the magic. Together they would travel on a boat with billowed sail from Puff the Magic Dragon. They plucked and munched nasturtiums, neon orange, and pinched rose hips hard and pink as air-filled cheeks. Laughter crocheted the air. Late summer tomatoes fell from their skins into the fragrant harvest soup. A wistful invitation emerged to rediscover Jackie Paper's path. Though the familiar song asserted that childhood once abandoned hid the way. And Puff, now waking from his dreams, uncloaked the luminous ship of discovery. The dragon's joyful roar filled a rainbow-quilted spinnaker. They set off, running with the wind. Thank you.
Next we have Heath Fair by Patricia Crosby.
Many a decade ago, I worked at the World Eye Bookshop in Greenfield, and Bob Collen was a regular customer. A very kind and gracious man, and he had terrific taste in books. So it's a real privilege to be here at an event that honors him. Heath Fair. One of those moments one waits for years as an adult, that instant when the dailiness of living splits apart and outsoars a sudden joy, an exquisite completeness of spirit, senses, thought, a vision wrapped in burlap as it fades. A rangy, genial man with dusty knees and crooked cap, a teen resplendent with hardness, nearly 4 tons of stone. First hitch, they stagger, plummet in place. We look away, ready in kind applause. Next hitch, we hover, then rivet, as one kick away from failure, their driver cradling them into congruence, they lunge. Hind legs thundering of a piece, the boat as if it's borne a mast, floating forward, the driver hugging like a mother, their blotchy fronts, face lifted, earth witness this.
All of those were wonderful. We left it to our judges, Marcia Gagliardi and Danielle Cudmore, to pick the 3 winners of the evening. It was a very difficult job this year, but they always come through for us, and they're wonderful poetry lovers themselves. Further ado, 3rd place, Stephanie Shafron. In 2nd place, Amy Gordon. And in 1st place, Michael Young, who is not able to be here tonight. Thank you so much for everyone who came tonight. If you want to chat with Kathy, she's right there in the chair. Please help yourself to the refreshments at the table.
I also mentioned that, thank you, Pat, for noticing we found
had to listen too late but so helpful, a stack of wonderful copies of Bob's
Oh,
poem,
that's what I was
Town and the
looking
River,
for. Thank
and
you.
a few of them, which you want to know. Yes. It's a lovely illustration, so please, anyone who would like one, it's a treasure to have this. And so, sorry we didn't see them sooner, but here they are. Better late than never. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And now we have plenty of food.
Yes, there's so much food. Please come in.
I would like to take a doggy bag. I would just like to say a quick thank you to the friends and trustees of the Orange Public Library from our